Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited you're joining us today for this pre-conference session. My name is Lisa Fick, and I'm an educational consultant at Branching Minds. We have a packed agenda today, but before we get started, I want to review a few housekeeping items. So if you scroll just below my video, there's a link to the PDF of the session slides, if you want to pull those up, along with the participant activity guide. And then if you look to the right of my video where it says events, agenda, and session, that'll be at the top. Please make sure you're clicked on the session tab to engage with session presenters and attendees. If you accidentally type any comments or questions under the events tab, every single one of the hundreds of summit participants will see it. So take care to use the session tab during our time together. I think as of yesterday, we had about 600 people. So you'll be messaging 600 people. Under the session tab, we encourage you to engage in the chat for comments or when directed to do so by the presenter. However, please use the Q&A option for any questions that you have so that we can address them at the end. Questions tend to get lost in the chat, so adding them to that Q&A section is the best way to ensure they're addressed. And lastly, we invite you to share your videos if you're willing and able. To do this, you should click the request to share audio video button that'll be at the upper right corner of this virtual session room. Once we approve your request to share, your video will appear. We'd love to see your faces. Please note that up to 45 people can share their video, so it's on a first come, first serve basis. And without further ado, let's dive into our session for today with Sandra.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Some of you, like I say, I saw in the last session and that we did with the data-driven reflection tactic. I know that you guys are going to be able to take away from these quick micro sessions, protocols and activities that you can immediately turn around on your campuses. So this session is tips and tactics to socialize new initiatives and goals. And I know if you're like me working on campuses, that seems to be happening all the time. So in our short 30 minutes together, we have a quick question that I'm going to have all of you kind of share back with me about why we need to socialize our new ideas. We're going to go through two tactics today. Tactic number one is a tactic that we're going to think about utilizing before any new change happens, right? So planning with the end in mind, this happens before we even start any kind of initiative or change. Tactic two is a tactic that, especially since this is the middle of the year, that we would use right in the middle of an initiative or change when things aren't quite looking and sounding like we thought they would when we started. So today, we hope you can take back two team tactics that you can turn around and utilize with your staff and just become better leaders and better at working in teams and with your communication. So it's time for you guys to start by typing in the chat and sharing with Lisa and I, what is the value in this? What is the value in socializing new ideas on our campuses? So we're going to give you a minute to type that in and kind of see what some of your responses are. Right, Jennifer, we want to get buy-in. Oh, smooth implementation. Exactly. The process will be much smoother. Gain support. Yeah, we all want to be on the same page. Can understand the baseline of where people are at and how they are feeling. Wow, you guys already have those first pieces of why we're going to do what we're doing. Yeah, if you're making any kind of big change, you've got to get input from those who are going to be affected by that change. You're going to socialize the change. In that socializing, you're going to be able to anticipate barriers and any roadblocks and get the feedback that you need before the change is even made. So just what you were saying in the chat, there is huge value in socializing any new ideas. So in our time together, these two tactics are going to help you with a clear protocol for socializing at the beginning or in the middle of anything that's happening on your campus. So tactic number 1, planning with the end in mind. Read this quote and just think about, do you agree with it? Yes or no? Agree with that quote. Thanks, Sherry. Yeah, we are, we have that ability to create that future. And the key to that is socializing those ideas, those changes, but having a clear protocol to help us navigate that. So, our first activity, we think about after someone passes, there may be a post mortem to identify the cause. Before we even start the change that we're thinking of, it's the middle of the year, so maybe there's something starting in January, or maybe you already know that something is going to begin for the year 24-25. So the goals in this activity is we're going to think about whatever the change is with the end in mind, so that we can already think about those problems and those barriers before they even happen. So our scenario, the scenario that you're going to walk through with me first is you've got this change coming. So it could be starting in January. It could be starting in school year 24-25. But you can see the future and the implementation is failed. So I want you to think or type, there's a place in your participant guide we'll look at, what is a change that is about to occur on your campus, in your district? And we're going to think about the fact that that change is going to happen, but it will fail. From that, so I'll give you just a 1 minute think time, a change that's coming in the future. If you can type it in the chat, we'd love to hear what changes, ideas, initiatives are coming up for your campus or for your district. So you've thought of that scenario. The next thing is it failed, right? The scenario is this is a change that's going to happen, and this change has failed. You're going to list every possible reason that this implementation might fail. From that, you're going to take all those reasons and group them. Is there a theme that's kind of coming out from all those reasons? If so, let's make a plan now before we even start, so that we can either mitigate the risk, investigate the risk, and then make a plan that would remove those barriers and make a clear path for the success of the coming change. And then we take that and we assign it to the people that are helping us socialize those new ideas. So, oh, great. Oh, you guys all have stuff coming up. Great. I love it. Okay. So go to your participant guide. This is a more you do than I do. And you're going to see, Lisa told you where to access it. Most of you have already been in a micro session. I want you to walk through in the next 10 minutes, maybe less, about this scenario. You identified the change. Now you're going to imagine it's the end and it's failed. And I want you to just brainstorm all the reasons it might have failed. All right. If you're doing this with your team, then you can have sticky notes and highlighters and note cards and really make this a tactile, hands-on activity. So I'm going to go ahead, probably give you about 5 minutes to really start brainstorming. And then I'll give you a minute at the end to share. So take about 5 minutes and start thinking about all the reasons that what you want to implement may have failed? Heather's going to think about what are all the reasons that this Science of Reading program might fail. Jana Kirk-Levine, what are all the reasons that this PBIS might fail? Oh, Nicole, what are all the reasons MTSS might fail?
Grading practices is another one. I know that a lot of schools are switching to standards-based grading. So I know that's one that I see at the schools that we work with as well.
And that is such a challenge, right? So I'm interested to hear, I saw that changing grading. I'm interested to hear some of your reasons that that could fail. You have about 3 more minutes, and then I'm going to have some of you start typing in the chat. Thank you, Kim. And some of you are like on it. So as you're doing this, I want you to think about what did this protocol reveal for you, and start typing that in the chat. As you're going through the protocol, what is being revealed? Fear of change, lack of confidence in a new practice, having to start over in assignment creation. And so Kim now is going to start thinking, how do I mitigate those risks, right? So you're going to be moving on to, well, how are you going to proactively start mitigating this? Okay, I need some other people. What is this protocol revealing? Right, exhaustion for another process and routines to follow and teach. Yeah, and Sherry, I don't know if any of you went, Lisa, you did initiative fatigue, right? And that is exactly what we see our staff feeling. And so you'll want to access, I think, the recording from that, and that could be part of being able to mitigate that risk. Oh, good, Blair. It revealed that we're all at various levels of readiness. Oh, Mary Beth Gonzalez, 100%. I see that, and I know, Lisa, you see it when you're out doing professional development. You've got these participants that are like, hey, I don't even want to think about this because I know it's just going to go away. Wow, that is so great. We're going to take about 1 more minute, and then we're going to move on to the next tactic. Jenna Kirk, yes, lack of collaboration. Oh, with students. Right. Alyssa said, it's making me think about preparation and intentionally strategizing so that our teachers are confident in the work ahead. That is so powerful. And I think as we think about socializing ideas, we start thinking about that preparation piece and how all the different stakeholders help different barriers start to bubble up. We're getting that feedback. All right. Okay. I love what I'm hearing from you in regards to tactic number 1, which is that pre-mortem, which happens before we ever begin a new idea. Don't you wish someone was like, hey, you're about to jump off a cliff? I'm just telling you. And so this is going to help with that. Okay. Love it. All right. Micro session. We're going to go fast. Tactic number 2. So it is December, and you probably started some new initiative, change, idea. And I appreciate, I was going back to what Dr. Berman said. He was saying that we have to develop the skills to execute the program with a fidelity and depth. And maybe that didn't happen, right? And so now we're in the middle of something and we're kind of in panic mode, and there are some surprises and some things we didn't account for. And so this next tactic happens right in the middle of an implementation when there appears to be some surprises, some barriers, roadblocks that are happening right in the middle. And we need a tactic so that we can move from panic mode into problem solving mode. So I want you guys to read what it says on that slide right there. You could conduct, have that pre-mortem after you started, but we have to be ready, and you guys have to be ready to solve these adaptive changes here in the middle of the year. Kind of that kickstart. There might have been a false start. So I utilized this tactic about last month with Griffin Spalding School in Georgia. And it was so relevant and powerful and useful. So this tactic is called How Might We? And in this tactic, you're going to take problems that have happened and you're going to turn them into solvable questions in order to move from, it could be panicking, right? Could be like a deer in headlights. Things aren't going like you want it to. We want to move into a solution mode. So here's how it works, and the steps are going to be in your participant guide. So now you're in the middle, something that maybe you started at the beginning of the year, and you've encountered lots of different problems while you were implementing this. So you're going to be able to name those problems. We're going to validate them, show them value, name them, but we're going to take those questions and rephrase them as a how might we question. And then take those how might we questions and prioritize them based on the impact that solving that question would have on our campus. And then you can come up with all these different answers to that question that leads you into problem solving. So let's see what it looks like. Everybody has your participant guide. So let's walk through this, and you have an example right there. So problems are daunting. You're in the middle of something. You're kind of in panic mode. And here's an example problem. Teams aren't utilizing the new curriculum materials we adopted. I hear that, and I know Lisa hears that everywhere we go. We're going to take that problem, teams aren't utilizing the curriculum, and turn it into this how might we question. How might we encourage teams to utilize the new curriculum materials we adopted? From that question, you can then start to generate solutions. So now it's your turn. You're actually going to take some problems that you're having, maybe take 2 or 3, write the problem, name it to tame it, but then turn it into a question. So Lisa and I are going to look for you as you think about a problem you're having, and then we want you to type into the chat those questions when you rephrase it. So, oh, thanks. I love that. Panic mode to solution mode. Yes. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of think time. You have about 3 or 4 minutes. And then we'll look for you to start typing those new questions into the chat. So you've already got things, Sherry. Here's what we're going to do. Don, how might we help teachers implement Tier 2 strategies effectively in their classrooms in order to address the needs of struggling learners? And now, Don, it's like, boom, boom, you're coming up with all these solutions. Ooh, so here's Heather's problem and her question. There isn't time for PD opportunities. How can we create innovative PD opportunities during the school day? Oh. Ooh, Carmen. Or Lisa, isn't this great? It's like the best.
Yeah, this is so proactive and we're used to like just being reactive because the the nature of the initiative fatigue. So I just love seeing all the proactiveness.
Carmen, I'm getting resistance from staff about the new initiative. How might we combat resistance for the staff? So now, like all these ways, Carmen, you start to populate those. Kim, oh, how might we increase hope and excitement for teachers that by examining their grading practices, it will support student engagement in their classes? Oh, wow, that's a big one. Chris says, how might we overcome teacher and union pushback rolling out the MTSS process? And I know, Chris, that is, valid and it's real and it's relevant right now. And so, then socialize that idea, walk through this protocol.
And I like that we're also thinking of students. Like Kim brought up student engagement. When we're implementing PBIS, Jana had talked about the effect of students and student buy-in because these initiatives should be supporting students.
That is so true, Lisa. I love that you shared that. And Janice says, great exercise. My first how might we question didn't just sit right, so I wrote it again. Oh, she's like, I'm doing it a second time. So, guys, you guys are finishing up this second tactic, and you've been given two different tactics. That one where you socialize those ideas with your team so that they help you not jump off a cliff. And from the start, you're looking for those barriers. And then this one, which I know for you guys is relevant to right now in December. We're coming to the end of the semester, and we know January, that new winter semester is coming. So as we kind of wind down this quick 30-minute micro session, I want you to look at these questions and I want to hear from you. Here's a few different questions. Which tactic do you think you would use the most in your setting? Which one of these tactics are you like, I'm going to use this next? When I was in Atlanta the other day, a group from a campus said, oh, it was Friday, and they said, oh, Monday, this tactic is coming out. And then what's a tactic you want to share with a colleague who isn't here today? So start to share with Lisa and I and our friends the answer to one of those questions, to all of those questions. Just start to put that in there. Don's going to use how might we. Right, Dawn? I think that's the power in that we move from problem focus to solution focus. And I think what Lisa said too is the bottom line is, how's it going to affect our students? Blair, when we come out from Christmas on the RTI planning day, tactics coming out. I know. That, how might we? Immediate. And I think, flipping that mindset. Y'all, these little micro sessions, they're short but powerful, and they're all about you. They're all about giving you what you need to go out and do the work that you do every day. So as we come kind of to these last few minutes, if you have questions, if you would go to the Q&A tab and type them in, just know that gets saved and we'll be able to get back with you. So as we're winding down, if there was a question, put it in that Q&A tab, and that will actually get saved and we can get back to you. So use that Q&A tab. And then I am just going to really promote some of the resources because I use them all the time. The resources digest, y'all. The stuff you can use at your RTI meeting. Some of you were saying you're going to turn this around. If you go to that BRM sign up, you're also going to get some resources that you can turn directly around at some of your meetings. If you go to that podcast, oh my word, you'll learn so much. So whether you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, you're going to get all the most up-to-date resources that you need. And I'm going to let Lisa close us down here with a few last minute things.
Thank you, Sandra. Just like you said, these micro sessions are so great because they are bite-sized pieces that you can take back to your staff. Time is always a barrier against us. So I'm hoping that you all engaging in this short 30 minutes is really giving you hope that we can implement some bite-sized actions. So before we part our ways, I want to make sure you know you will have access to all pre-conference materials on demand, including the recordings, the slide decks, and the participant activity guides. We want to make sure these materials are available exclusively to pre-conference registrants. So we will email them to all of you early next week. So you'll actually get an email for all of the pre-conference resources. They will be sent to the email you used to register for the summit. We appreciate your patience as we compile and distribute these materials. I also want to note that how you access to pre-conference materials is different from how you access the main event recordings and slides from tomorrow and Thursday. Those materials will be published within the event platform in the replay area, but the pre-conference will be emailed to you. And the access is limited to only those who have registered for the pre-conference. If you have questions about any of that, you can put them in the chat, the Q&A tabs for the actual event, or email them to summit@branchingminds.com. We thank you for joining our session today, and please enjoy the rest of the pre-conference and summit. Thank you all for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Sandra. And I don't see any questions.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the conference. So glad you're with us today.
Yes.